I will grant myself the ability to trust the healthy people in my life, to set limits with or let go of the negative ones, and to have the wisdom to know the difference. From Lifehack. Welcome to the Good Karma Success Coach podcast. My name is Melinda Van Fleet, and I'm a mindset success coach. My husband Ryan and I were laid off at the same time 10 years ago. We moved to the Florida Keys without jobs, not knowing anyone, hardly any money, and we never even been here. So all along, I have said that someday, when we get our quote-unquote shit together, we will help others. Because since then, we've done a lot of self-work and both built successful businesses. My intent is to be relatable and bring you tactical tips, tools, share my learnings and stories that can help inspire you or transform you wherever you are in your career or general life. I strongly believe that if I can do it, you can do it too. So what's stopping you? This week's topic is about expectations. And we all have expectations on ourselves, and we definitely have a lot of expectations of other people. It's probably, I would say, it could be a daily struggle for some people. It's definitely something that comes up within myself, within my husband, within our businesses, within each other as a relationship and as a couple. It comes up when I speak with my coaching clients and work with them. And it's just something that is really important to understand your expectations of others and how you can relate to those expectations and make it clear on what you need from somebody, or even in my case, what I learned years ago as a buyer is to lower my expectations of people and just try to operate from a place of trying to get things done, but not being so, I guess you could say, demanding of other people. And that was something I struggled upon when I was in my early days as a buyer. I really probably was extremely demanding, and it came from my childhood. And how did I learn to recognize it and start to minimize it when I'm working with other people? This is a tough topic. It's a tough topic to just cover in a podcast, so I'll probably just end up scraping the surface. But my hope is that you start to think about it. And if it is something that you struggle with within your marriage, within your work environment, within your relationships with anybody, your family, your friends, someone you're dating, that you at least start to recognize it and maybe try to understand the root cause of where it comes from. So like I said, this isn't just going to be solved in one podcast, but I hope that you at least start to think about it and maybe start to practice some of these tips. And I would love to hear from you as well on some ideas and tips and your experiences in terms of understanding your expectations and how to work best with others. My first tip is going to be just taking a moment and recognizing. Stop. When you think you are having high expectations on someone, you need to really stop. Stop to take a moment and stop to recognize what you're doing. I had no idea that I was doing this, and it was affecting my team when I was a buyer back in my corporate days. I really didn't realize it at all, and it took a lot of self-work to realize where it came from. And quite frankly, it came from my mother. She has very high expectations of people, a lot of judgment, and it really affected then how I grew up and then how I took that into the work world and even into my, I'm sure, personal life and dating and friends. It filtered probably into everything. But where I really recognized it was at work, is that I had these super high expectations of people that they were just going to get everything done for me immediately when I snapped my fingers. And life just doesn't work like that. So tip number 1, to stop and recognize what you're doing and really do some deep dive and self-work to understand where it comes from so you can start to gather that information and knowledge and start to fix it. Tip 2, Pick your battles. Oh, yeah, this is a good one. So, definitely when you have high expectations and you have expectations on something to get done and it's not getting done, you know what? Is it really worth it? Is it worth the agony? Is it worth the stress? I want to live my life with ease. So, is it something that I just need to let it go and sing the Frozen song in my head, let it go, and just move on and pick my battles? Or if it's something that is really needed and you do need to get it done, or you do need something to change in regards to whatever your expectations are, then you need to have the discussion. So this will lead into tip number 3. Figure out a way to have the discussion. If it's your spouse or partner, do you need to have a date night and really sit down and get out of your typical environment and have the discussion? Is it someone on your team or that you work with that you need to have a discussion with and maybe go out to lunch or happy hour? I used to do that a lot back in the day, and that worked really well. Schedule some time to be at peace, like have a peaceful place where you can have just an open and honest discussion and approach everything with empathy. And empathy is the ability to really feel what the other person is feeling. And there's more and more discussion coming up around empathy. And I think it's just a great discussion to be had. Like I said, I didn't grow up with empathy. It wasn't something that I even knew what the term meant. So as I have gotten older and am definitely doing more work on speaking and coaching and teaching, it's definitely just a really great term to be familiar with and start to incorporate that whole idea into your life. And the great thing about empathy is you don't have to be born with that skill. Like I said, I wasn't for sure. And you can work on it, you can fine tune it, you can hone it, you can just start to recognize where you need to employ empathy. And it'll start to be something that you're just more aware of and you start to recognize in yourself and in others. And that will really start to affect your relationships in a positive way. And the final tip I'm going to leave you with, because I don't want this to be a super long podcast, plus, as I said in the beginning, we're not going to solve this in one day, but is realizing that you might have expectations that someone's going to call you. For example, we had something last week with the boat that we thought was moving along nicely. And so Ryan had expectations that he'd receive a return phone call. And he hasn't received a return phone call. But then in the meantime, he had a conversation with someone else that presented another idea or opportunity. So we were talking about it yesterday that, you know what, maybe something better is going to come along. Maybe this person that we thought was going to help us with something, the first person, it's not going to happen. But then the second person might be really where we are guided to work with. And I think that's just something to recognize as you are just moving through your day and moving through your life, is that, yes, the universe has your back, and that this one idea or opportunity might not be where you're supposed to go, and to lower your expectations on what is supposed to be the outcome and just go with it. Just see where it leads you and know that something better might come along that's meant to be for you, for yourself, for your business, for your family. I'm ending this podcast here, but as I sit here, I feel like there's just so much more to unpack. So maybe I'll have a part 2 or a part 3, but I would love to hear from you. And definitely shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn, or you can email me at melinda@melindavanfleet.com. I'm going to leave you with this mantra. I release my high expectations of others. I release my high expectations of others. So if you're like me, I'm always working on fine-tuning and tweaking my mindset. So it's good to say things like this, different affirmations or mantras in your meditation, or just when you have a little break in the day. If you can meditate in the morning and in the evening and even have a little break in the afternoon. I just took part in a workshop yesterday with a meditation instructor named Alexis, and it was her and Carly Pinder, who I had Carly on my podcast a couple podcasts ago. She's amazing. Definitely check that podcast out. But we were talking about meditation, and Alexis was saying that in the middle of the day, it's like you have some dust on your shelf. And if you just take a few minutes to meditate again and clear your mind, it will just help you move through the rest of your day with ease. Please share my podcast with a friend or family member. And also don't forget to rate and review on Apple Podcast. If you found value, I would love to hear from you. Again, you can DM me on Instagram or contact me through LinkedIn or my email, melinda@melindavanfleet.com. And if you're interested in a complimentary coaching session, you think we could work well together, I would love to work with you. You can contact me again through those same methods or check out my website, thegoodkarmasuccesscoach.com. Till next time, be grateful, be curious, always be learning, and you know what? Have some fun too. Thanks for listening.